Deluge out there, as we were saying. I virtually needed goggles and snorkel driving in this morning. It was just incredible. The surface water on the roads, it's like driving up a river. But millions of you in parts of England and Wales are also waking up to heavy rain and flooding today, and that is something which is probably going to overwhelm sewage plants and force waste once again into our rivers.
Well, water companies have been blamed for polluting our waterways, damaging wildlife and public health. But today, a new lawsuit could see 6 major water companies face fines totalling up to £1.5 billion after claims that they under-reported pollution incidents, which means that customers may have been overcharged for their water bills.
£1.5 billion. Big figures. With us now is the environmental campaigner, Feargal Sharkey. He's obviously been committed for years to fighting for cleaner waters, and he's live with us now by the Mersey. Feargal, this is an unprecedented legal attack on the water companies, but we know their reputation is for being quite a slippery lot. Do you think they'll wriggle out of it?
It is quite remarkable. As you will remember, just a matter of weeks ago, Ofwat, the regulator, clarified on this very programme that sewage should only ever be dumped in exceptional circumstances. That's an extraordinarily rare, unique event. This claim today, Ofwat runs this system, and it's almost like trying to incentivise school children to do the right thing. If water companies reduce their leakage, Ofwat allows them to charge their customers more money. If they reduce their customer complaints, Ofwat allows them to charge more money. And if they reduce the pollution incidents, Ofwat allows them to charge their customers more money. Sounds like a good idea until you realise the water companies self-report those pollution incidents. And of course, the allegation today, because of that very system, because of the fact that if they underreport the amount of pollution they're causing, Ofwat allows them to charge their customers more money, and therefore we should have that money refunded. That's the nucleus of what this case is all about.
Yeah, so there are 6 water companies: Thames Water, Severn Trent, Northumbrian Water, Yorkshire Water, Anglian Water and United Utilities. And if this class action lawsuit goes ahead, what could customers of those companies see happen?
Well, clearly we've possibly paid these companies money that they weren't entitled to. And I would argue that that, in fact, has been going on for 35 years. As I just mentioned, sewage should only ever be dumped in extraordinarily rare, unique occasions. Water companies have a legal obligation to build, operate, maintain a system that allows for and takes into account things like heavy rain, things like global warming. Let's face it, we live in an island in the middle of the North Atlantic. It rains frequently quite heavily. They are meant to build systems that can cope with all of that. And more importantly, according to Ofwat, we have provided all of the funding for 35 years for them to meet that legal obligation. So ultimately, we have the situation: have these companies been profiteering? Have they made that investment? Have they underreported? And it's a really good question to be asking, and I think it's one that needs to be answered. Yeah. Where's our money gone? What happened to it? And when can we have a refund?
Feargal, how has it come to this? I can remember the days when water companies generally were about as controversial as the growing grass. I mean, they just did their job and shut up. I mean, how have we come to this, where now you've got this huge class action against the companies which are meant to be looking after us?
Oh, completely. And let me remind you that every single sewage company in England right now is under what the Environment Agency refer to as the largest ever criminal investigation. The truth is, the regulatory system, the Environment Agency and Ofwat that is supposed to safeguard customers, safeguard the environment, it has utterly and colossally failed. And ironically enough, and I know this may seem slightly controversial saying it, I have a minor, small, tepid degree of empathy for the water companies. They're out there trying to make as much money as they can. They're profiteering. It was the regulator's job to step in and make sure they were not abusing the monopolies that they've been given and they're allowed to run.
Well, then it sounds like your argument is partly with the regulator.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, without exception, I think there's what starts and ends. You have to ask, what on earth was the regulator doing? These companies have been allowed to profiteer. As we've discussed before, they've taken out £78 billion in dividends. They've loaded these companies with £64 billion worth of debt. Last year, between England and Wales, they spent 4.6 million hours dumping sewage into the environment. There's not a single river in England, including the glorious river Mersey behind me, that is not polluted. Every single river in England's polluted. One of the largest sources of that pollution is the water industry, and Ofwat and the EA have allowed it to happen.
Well, the River Mersey was once dubbed the most polluted river in the whole of Western Europe. And last year, United Utilities, which covers that northwest region, had the highest average number of sewage spills per storm overflow in England. Now, you are there in Liverpool, presumably because that's where the government party has its party conference. Regulators are run by government. So what do you say to them about how to fix the regulator?
You are right. I am president of an organisation called SERA, the Labour Environment Campaign Group. And yes, I am attending conference. Personally speaking, right now, I think government needs to take a really firm hand. Were it left to me this morning, I would actually probably remove both the chair of Ofwat and the chair of the Environment Agency, as in my opinion, both those organisations are now functionally and institutionally incompetent, and they have now exposed bill payers and the environment to colossal damage. And in fact, we are now being told we're going to have to face anything up to 44% increases in bills over the next 5 years. The situation, quite frankly, has gotten out of hand. We cannot trust the water companies, and I think we can't trust the regulators either. And certainly their regulation and their credibility is now in tatters. There needs to be basic root and branch radical reform.
Labour, this government, is committed to renationalising, in effect, the railways in this country. Do you think that's a big question that we should apply to the water industry? Is it time, basically, to go back, to renationalise our water industry?
I think the immediate concern is actually one about finance. As we know, Thames Water is in horrendous financial trouble right now. I could add probably 4 or 5 other companies possibly could be on that list. I think the real thing we're going to have to look at in the next few weeks and months, why is it that somebody thinks Southern Water customers should be paying up to 44% more money? As you may have seen in recent weeks, the chairman of Thames Water bellowing for a 58% increase in Thames Water's bills. That's going to be an immediate thing. I think government and the regulators need to start taking a hard line and holding these companies to account. And once we've organised who's going to pay for this mess, then we can look, and we probably should, at how these companies operate, how they're structured and who owns them.
Feargal, many areas have seen 2 months' rain in 24 hours. It's dry there, I can see right now. But what impact does that amount of water have on sewage, on overflows? What are people likely to see as a result today and over the next couple of days, do you think?
It is utterly immense, and clearly right now, not that you should, there will be colossal amounts of sewage in that floodwater. Clearly, you need to stay away from it. It is incredibly dangerous to be anywhere near it. And my consideration goes to those homes and those families that are now flooded. So not only the damage from the water itself, but then the impact of that sewage will have simply on your property, your home, your furniture, your car. It is an incredibly sad situation. And I know we would all want to offer what support we can to those families affected by what's going on.
What a mess. All we ask, really, of our governments is that they keep the roads neatly paved and that the drains work. We've got potholes and we've got sewage massing in our rivers. It's great, isn't it? Welcome to 2024. Feargal, you do a great job. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your time. Hugely appreciated.
Cheers, Gov.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Water UK, which is the trade association for the water industry, said about the legal claim, this highly speculative claim is entirely without merit. The regulator has confirmed that over 99% of sewage works comply with their legal requirements. If companies fail to deliver on their commitments, then bills will automatically be reduced. We'll see what happens. Feargal, thank you very much
you, Feargal.
indeed. Powerful voice.
It's going to be a long process, though, isn't it? We know that.